So we'll move on now and talk about protagonist and antagonist. Protagonist and antagonist. So the protagonist and antagonist are usually discussed together because one helps us to understand the other. They are opposite each other. Both are opposite each other and they help us to understand each other. One helps us to understand the other. Both are central characters. Both are central characters and both are important characters. But they are usually understood in terms of their differences. The protagonist is usually a hero or heroine. The protagonist is usually the hero or heroine who earns the support and sympathy of the reader or audience. Earns the support or sympathy of the reader or the audience. And is always opposed by the antagonist. Is always opposed by the antagonist. We can say that the protagonist is usually a good person or someone who has a good cause. We usually call him the good guy. Should we call him the good guy? We should call him the good guy. But he usually has an enemy. Usually has an enemy who is the antagonist. So we then define the antagonist as the character who opposes the protagonist. We then define the antagonist as the character who opposes the protagonist. Is likely to be a main character, a principal character. But for some reasons, he does not like, or she does not like, the protagonist. And always does everything to make the protagonist fail. So we could use the language that children normally use in discussing movies to describe the protagonist and the antagonist. But that would mean the actor and boss. Actor and the boss. So the protagonist is the actor, and the antagonist is the boss. The novel is usually structured in such a way that the novel is usually structured in such a way that the protagonist endures a lot of suffering, so much suffering from the antagonist. The novel is usually structured in such a way that the protagonist endures so much suffering from the antagonist but in the end triumphs, wins over, defeats the antagonist. In the end triumphs over the antagonist, wins over the antagonist, or defeats the antagonist. To maintain the timeless theme in literature that good always triumphs over evil. To maintain the timeless theme in literature that good always triumphs over evil. So in any novel that you read, if you are to discuss characterization in the novel, in any novel that you read, if you are to discuss characterization in the novel, you can discuss it based on protagonist and antagonist. You should be able to identify the protagonist and the antagonist in the story. Flat and round character. Flat and round characters. Flat and round characters. Another level of characterization worth discussing is one that concerns flat and round characters. They are also set in opposition to each other. They are also set in opposition to each other in terms of meaning and role. Not that the flat character always opposes the round character, nope. But in terms of their role and what they stand for. So the flat character is defined as a character that has one dominant trait. And this dominant trait is maintained throughout the novel. The flat character does not change. The character is said to be flat when we can observe only one dominant trait in the character, and the character does not change in the course of the development of the plot. The character does not change in the course of the development of the plot. So the flat character tends to be a static character. Flat character tends to be a static character. Static character. Because it remains the same till the end of the novel. For instance, if the person begins as a violent person, an unbeliever, and is a flat character, he will remain an unbeliever and a violent person till the end of the novel. Nothing will change him. He does not undergo any changes, any psychological, moral changes throughout the course of the novel. That's a flat character. Has one dominant trait that we know him of and does not change. So that makes him flat and static. On the other hand, the round character is a dynamic character. Because one, the round character is fully developed. The round character is fully developed. The round character is a fully developed character. The round character is a fully developed character. By being fully developed, it is meant that we are shown all the sides of the character. We are shown all the sides of the character. We are also shown that the character evolves. The character evolves. The character evolves. We are also shown that the character evolves. This means that he or she undergoes psychological and moral alterations or changes in the course of the development of the plot. Character undergoes psychological and moral changes in the course of the development of the plot of the novel. This also makes him a dynamic character. This also makes him a dynamic character. Because he's capable of changing and his actions are unpredictable. His actions are unpredictable. Unlike the flat character, whose actions are predictable, and who does not undergo a change, has one dominant character trait. The round character is dynamic because he is unpredictable. We don't know what he's going to do the next moment. And he's capable of changing in the course of the story. For the flat character, we are only shown one side of him. Well, for the round character, we are shown all sides of the character. And so these are the differences to be noted in our discussion of round and flat character. Then we also look at stereotypes. stereotype. You can call them type characters. Type characters. Stereotypical characters. Stereotypical characters are characters that have predictable roles in a work of art. They have predictable roles in a work of art. These roles are usually based on societal perception of such characters, so that immediately they appear in the novel, we know exactly what they will do. That is why their roles are unpredictable. Based on societal biases and expectations. Their roles are usually based on societal biases and expectations. The stereotypical role for women in the African novel could be that they will be housewives, they will be stay-at-home moms, they will only occupy culinary spaces, They will be call girls. 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 Is right in English? Call girls. There will be dependents. There will be weak. So any role that is based on societal biases, any role that is based on racial biases, any role that is based on age bias are stereotypical in nature. All right? In the American society, a black person will be stereotyped as a gangster, a criminal. A black woman will be stereotyped as call girl, a bitch. A drunk is an example of type character, stereotypical character, because once the drunk appears, we know exactly how he will behave. So a Nigerian youth can be stereotyped as internet fraudster or Yahoo Yahoo. Or as lazy Nigerian youth. So any role that is based on biases, whether racial, tribal, age, gender biases, are stereotypical roles, call them type characters. Okay? And any character whose role is easily predictable by mere appearance is stereotypical. That's why we normally talk about resisting stereotypes. Alright? Resisting stereotypes. Either by the characters themselves, the people involved, or by making sure that certain people are not perceived in certain way. For instance, it's stereotypical to think that anyone from Moran will be a wizard or a witch.
Yes, sir.
Alright? Okay? So somebody says, I am from Moran. He says, sorry, you cannot be my friend. You cannot be close to you. That is bias based on origin. Or you see a lady driving a Porsche car, and you conclude that it's the husband that bought it for her. The husband bought it. Okay? Meaning that it's already imprinted in your mind that no woman can earn money to buy her own car. Okay? That's stereotyping the woman. So I hope I've been able to explain that. Then let us look at the foil. Foil. The foil of a character. The foil of a character is one that is different from the other character in terms of traits or attributes. The foil of a character is one that is different from the other character in terms of traits and attributes. So this means that foil as a character type is usually understood by comparing it to another character. You cannot understand a foil on its own. You cannot say that a character is a foil without pointing to another character that it is different from, that he or she is different from. So a foil is usually defined in relation to another character. A foil is usually defined in relation to another character. A foil is usually defined in relation to another character. And it is the character that has the opposite attributes compared to the other character. So A foil character is understood based on contrasts. Based on contrast, you have to contrast the attributes of one character with those of another character in order to determine the concept of the foil character. For instance, in Things Fall Apart, Okonkwo is the foil of Onaka, his father. Okonkwo is the foil of Onaka, his father. He is everything that his father is not. Onaka is lazy, Okonkwo is hardworking. Onaka is lazy, Okonkwo is hardworking. Onaka is weak, Okonkwo is a wrestler, champion wrestler. Onaka is poor, Okonkwo is one of the wealthiest men of his time. So that is how to determine the foil of a character in a literary work. So if you're asked to discuss characterization in a novel, you need to discuss characterization in the terms that we have mentioned here, not telling us stories about one character. You need to be professional and technical in how you discuss literature. When you pick up the character, you have to identify the character type. Is it the antagonist? Is it the protagonist? Is it the foil? Is it the round character? The flat character? The hero, heroine, and so on and so forth. What's the next item? Language and style. So as we are discussing these concepts, if you have read Impostor Alert, you should be thinking in your mind how these concepts apply to the novel. As I said, because this is what you'll be doing throughout your stay in the university and even after. There's no other way, there's no other magic. You have to apply knowledge. You have to learn to apply knowledge. Nobody will do that for you. You have to learn independence of thought, thinking on your own. You shouldn't wait all the time for somebody to come and tell you that this is the hero of this novel. You take your hand and point, this is the hero. Before you know. Sometimes you just pick the novel on your own and know that this is the hero. So language and style. Thoughts are usually conveyed through language. The language is the writer's toolbox. So the language is the writer's tool. The writer has nothing other than language. So to study a novel is to study the language of the novel. Everything that the writer does is with words, with language, nothing more. The writer's raw material for telling the story is the language. The ingredients the writer uses to put the story together is the language. And the way the writer uses language is the style. The way the writer uses language is what? Is the style. So this is why language cannot be considered without style, and style cannot be considered without language. You cannot consider language without style, and you cannot consider style without language. This is why we always say language and style. This is why we always say language and style. Because the two always go hand in hand. So style is the way the writer uses language, how the writer uses language. Most times when a question says, how does the writer do this or do that? What you're being asked is the style. Okay? So once you're asked to discuss the style of the work of art, you are being asked to discuss the linguistic features that characterize the work of art. The dominant linguistic features that characterize the work of art, that make the work of art what it is. And you should not run away from it. Everything that goes into making the novel what it is, especially the dominant ones, constitute the style of the work. So everything that we have talked about in terms of plot, setting, point of view, all go into style, aspect of style in the novel. Because the writer has to choose to use first person instead of third person, there must be a reason. If the writer chooses to use the first person narrative point of view instead of the third person narrative point of view, there must be a reason. If the writer chooses to make use of a lot of dialogue, conversations among characters in the novel, there must be a reason. That's an aspect of style. So when you're reading the book, you have to note the features, the stylistic features that are dominant in the work. So the discussion of language and style does not end when you say that the language is simple or the language is difficult. Okay? That's not even it. That's for kindergarten. The language is simple, or the language is simple for everybody to understand. So you have talked about the language of the novel, or it's difficult. Some say the language is boring. So first you can identify whether the novel is written in English. Identify whether the novel is written in English. This is where your language and style begins. Language and style narration begins. Is the novel written in English? If it is written in English, what type of English? Okay, what type of English? Is it American English? Is it British English? Is it Nigerian English? Is it abrogated and appropriated English? Is it abrogated and appropriated English? Now we talked about this. that the language of the African novel is based on abrogation and appropriation. Is it the language that resists or refuses to adhere to the rules of the standard rules of the language? So you have to note that. Is it written in pidgin? Or do we have pidgin in it, in the novel? That's part of the language of the novel. Most times the author uses English, but there are some characters that are also made to speak pidgin. You have to observe that. It's part of the style of the novel. Sometimes the author also uses some words in indigenous language, like Ibibio. Some words in some indigenous words are used. All right? We discussed that as either glossing or what? Untranslatable language. You're not reading your notes. We discussed that as either what? Glossing or untranslatable language. So you can discuss that. So you take note of all of that and you give examples, because it's not just enough for you to say that the novel is written in this way. You have to show. Take a portion of the text and illustrate. If you said that the novel has glossing, right? Then you have to show example of the glossing in the novel. You said the novel has untranslatable language. You need to give us an example of untranslatable language in the novel. Okay? Does the novel make use of transliteration? That's part of the language. Does the novel make use of transliteration? That's part of the language. It's part of abrogation and appropriation. And you also have to cite example of the transliteration in the novel. These are all aspects of the language. Some novels are written entirely in pidgin, like Zosa Boy by this Ogoni writer who died, Ken Saro-Wiwa. It's written in pidgin. So you note that. And then, as I said, style refers to the linguistic choices made by a writer in a work of art that sets him apart from other writers. The linguistic choices. Linguistic there implies language. The fact that the writer chooses this word instead of this one, chooses to use simple words instead of difficult words, or chooses to use difficult words instead of simple ones. Right? Not just at that level, but chooses other features over others. That is style. Style refers to the linguistic choices made by a writer, which set that writer apart from others, or set the work apart from others. The writer chooses to use linear plot to discuss a work instead of non-linear plot. That's a choice. You have to discuss it. style also refers to the linguistic habits of the writer. The linguistic habits of the writer. The linguistic habits of the writer. Linguistic habits that are peculiar to a particular writer designate style. Okay? You need to understand that everybody has a unique voice. Sometimes when you hear a voice, you will say, oh, that's Peter. It's Peter that has that voice. Okay? So the same thing with the work of art. You will definitely come across a portion of the text and you know that this is Shoinkai. This is typical of Shoinka. This is typical of Clark. Because we know that is how that writer uses language. It's the habit, call it the linguistic habits of the writer. This means that these features that are attributed to this writer is recurrent across his work. So style usually goes for what is dominant and recurrent in a work of art. Style usually goes for what? What is what? Dominant and recurrent in a work of art. It comes again and again. It cuts across. So we have personal style and we have group style. We have personal style and we have group style. We have personal style, we have group style. Personal style is unique to a particular writer, where a particular writer is noted, for certain peculiar linguistic habits. Where a particular writer is noted for certain peculiar linguistic habits. Then we have group style. Group style usually cuts across a group of writers. Usually noted among a group of writers. For instance, romantic writers can be grouped because their works exhibit similar traits. The writers of a particular time, like writers in the age of Romanticism, could be grouped because their works exhibit similar traits. Renaissance writers can be grouped and their work studied to show the similarities in their linguistic habits. That's group style. But even then, individual writers might still have their peculiar traits. So you need to note the difference between group style and personal style. Writers in the modern period can be grouped and studied, and then it will be seen that the works exhibit similar traits. That's group style. African novelists writing against colonialism can be studied to see the similarity in their use of language. That will still be group style. In studying style, we have two broad areas. In studying style, we have two broad areas. In studying style, we have two broad areas. In any case, the discipline that studies style is called stylistics. The discipline that studies style is called stylistics. The study of style is called stylistics. And there are two broad areas in stylistics. Stylistics. We have two broad areas in stylistics. We have literary style and we have linguistic style. So what we want to pay attention to is literary style, a framework that allows us to study style in works of art. A framework that allows us to study style in a work of art. Linguistic stylistics is domiciled in language studies. Of course, they have overlapping features, but they maintain their differences. They do have their overlapping features, but they do maintain their differences. So in literary style, we have to begin by noting that Cicero laid the foundation, laid the foundation for the study of style in the classical period. Cicero laid the foundation for the study of style in the classical period. Cicero laid the foundation for the study of style in the classical period. His theory of style classifies style into three levels. Cicero's style theory classifies style into 3 levels. These are high style. These are high style. These are high style. Another name for high style is grand style. Grand style. Another name for high style is grand style. Another name for high style is grand style. Then you have middle style. You have middle style. Middle style. You have middle style. Another name for middle style is mean style. Mean style. Mean style. And then you have low style. Low style. Also known as plain style. You call it low style, you call it plain style. So the grand style or the high style is suitable for writing the epic. As the name suggests, it is dignified and the language is refined. It's dignified and the language is dignified, refined. Language is refined. Its tone is solemn. Its tone is solemn. Tone is solemn. Solemn. And it is used when addressing or talking about VIPs. It's used when addressing or talking about VIPs. Very important people, highly placed members of society. So the grand style is peculiar to the epic. The epic is usually written using grand style. Because it's used to talk about the deeds of important people, the heroic deeds of important people. Then we have the middle style. Then you have the middle style, also known as the mean style. The middle style is characteristic of the language of entertainment. The middle style is characteristic of the language of entertainment. The middle style or the mean style aims to entertain. So it is suitable for literature. The mean style is the language of literature, used in writing literature. It is interesting, it is captivating, it is interesting, it is captivating. It's interesting, it is captivating. It aims to entertain, so it's the language of literature. It is the style of storytelling. The main style is the style of storytelling. Storytelling style. Then you have the low style. Then you have the low style, also known as the plain style. This style is noted for its simplicity in the use of language. This style is noted for its simplicity in the use of language. For simplicity in the use of language. Of the three styles, the plain style is the simplest, followed by the mean style, and then the most difficult will be the high style, because that is mostly for the upper class member of society, for the educated. Okay? So the plain style is noted for its simplicity in the use of language. So when you say the language is very, 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 very simple, you talk about the plain style, simply say it is plain style. The work is written using plain style. I'm not saying the language is very, 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 very simple. Okay? It's plain style. Okay? So this is the language often used by teachers, the language of education. The plain style is used in teaching. I know whenever I come to class, I use plain style. So everybody will understand. I always use plain style, so everybody will understand. So it's the language of teaching. Teachers use plain style. So if a workabout makes use of plain style, then it is likely that there is a message that the author wants to pass across. It's a message that the author wants to pass across to the masses. That's why he's writing using plain style, so that everyone will understand. That means at that point, the literature does not only aim to entertain, but to educate, to give information, to empower. So that's why contemporary literature makes use of plain style. Okay? Because most people in society are uneducated or have not really gone far in school. Okay? So the writer aiming to reach the masses would tone down the language using plain style so that the masses will understand. So you can take a paragraph if you have not taken a paragraph since we started. Take a paragraph now. The doctrine of decorum. The doctrine of decorum. The doctrine of decorum practiced in the 18th century. The doctrine of decorum practiced in the 18th century. Required that the level of style in a work should be appropriate to the social class of the speaker. Should be appropriate to the social class of the speaker. The level of style in a work should be appropriate to the social class of the speaker, to the occasion on which it is spoken. To the occasion on which it is spoken, and to the dignity of its literary genre. And to the dignity of its literary genre. The doctrine of decorum, practiced in the 18th century, required that the level of style in a work should be appropriate to the social class of the speaker. Social class of the speaker. That means when the individual speaks, the person's language should reflect the person's status in society. When a peasant speaks, we know that that's a peasant speaking. When an upper class member of society speaks, we know that that's an upper class member of society speaking. Okay? Language defines your class, your level of education. You speak and people know that, oh, this one has not gone to the university. Okay? Language can reveal a lot of things about you because language is a source of identity. Okay? So people use language to identify you, the words that you use. Alright? Language can reveal your background, your beliefs. You can use language to infer your beliefs, your values. You can use language to infer your thoughts, how you think. So you have to be very careful before you speak, because language reveals a lot about the individual, your class, your academic background, social status. Okay? There's a difference between someone who says, when they ask, what did you eat today? The person said, dodo. And the one who said, lasagna. I took lasagna. The person said, I took dodo. So I took this. One person said I took apple. Another person said I took lasagna. This one I took lasagna. With a glass of wine. Okay. So imagine you said that the person will just know your background. Alright? Alright, so the level of style in the work should be appropriate to the social class of the speaker. Alright? Be appropriate to the social class of the speaker, to the occasion on which it is spoken. The occasion also determines the style of the work, right? The occasion also determines the style of the work. And then to the dignity of its literary genre. To the dignity of its literary genre. Okay? If it's an epic, we will use grand style, right? If it is pastoral, it's likely to use plain style or mean style. So that's decorum, doctrine of decorum in style study. Not for pride. It's an archetypal critic. You get to know him better, maybe in your year 3, which is why you should keep pushing, because there is more to know. Northrop Frye introduced his own levels of style. Northrop Frye introduced an archetypal critic, introduced his own level of style, his own levels of style. Northrop Frye introduced his own level of style. These are the demotic style, demotic style, and the heretic style. Heretic style. Heretic style. Demotic style makes use of the everyday speech of ordinary people. Makes use of the everyday speech of ordinary people. Demotic style makes use of the everyday speech of ordinary people. So that's why when you pick up a novel and you're reading, if you are armed with these terminologies, you'll be able to explain a lot of things about style in a novel. Okay? Sometimes you see demotic style, but you don't know that that's demotic style. You see common people using simple language, street language, language they use in the street, using the market. You should describe that demotic, but you don't know that that's supposed to be demotic. Okay? Demotic style is modeled on the language of ordinary speech. Demotic style is informal in nature. Demotic style is informal in nature. It is usually colloquial in nature. nature. It's usually informal in nature, usually colloquial in nature. The language of ordinary, everyday speech of common people. On the other hand, you have the hieratic style. This is based on formal speech. This is based on formal speech. Hieratic style is marked by formality in the use of language. Marked by formality in the use of language. So both demotic style and hieratic style can be used in literature, can be used in literary works. In discussing style, you can take a paragraph in discussing style. In discussing style, two sentence types can be identified. Discussing style in literature, two sentence types can be identified. These are the periodic sentence and the non-periodic sentence. Periodic and non-periodic sentence. The periodic sentence has intrusive structure. The periodic sentence has intrusive structure or structures. The periodic sentence has intrusive structure or structures. Intrusive. Intrusive structures which suspend the ending of the sentence until later. Which suspend the ending of the sentence until later. Which suspend the ending of the sentence until later. On the other hand, non-periodic sentence, a non-periodic sentence is one whose parts are loosely joined together. A non-periodic sentence is one whose styles are loosely joined together. A non-periodic sentence A non-periodic sentence, one whose parts are loosely joined together and which tend to flow from the beginning to the end without interruption. And which tend to flow from the beginning to the end without interruption. Which tend to flow from the beginning to the end without interruption. Okay, so this is a periodic sentence. One bright summer day, when the sun seemed to shine forever in the sky, Mrs. Edith, a proud mother of 4 boys, left her husband's mansion with all the comfort in it, and went back to the village. Okay, just an example, but I want to see how the sentence is interrupted by intrusive clauses, intrusive expressions. I'm going to underline the intrusive expressions. Okay, so those are intrusive expressions in that sentence, and that's a periodic sentence. One bright summer day, when the sun seemed to shine forever in the sky, they said that the proud mother of 4 boys left her husband's mansion, all the comfort in it, and went back to the village. That's a periodic sentence. The ending of the sentence is suspended until later, and then in between when the sentence begins and the end, we have intrusive expressions, intervening. We don't want to call them intrusive expressions, we call them intervening expressions. Okay? Before the sentence finally ends. And I'm going to give you one example of a non-periodic sentence. A sentence that seems to flow from the beginning to the end without intrusive expressions. Okay? You can just write last week, Edith went to the market and bought. Last week, Edith went to the market and bought 3 goods 5 tubers of yam, and kola nuts to appease the gods. And kola nuts to appease the gods. Last week, Edith went to the market and bought 3 goats, 5 tubers of yam, and kola nuts to appease the gods. Full stop. So you could see that in that sentence, the sentence flows from the beginning to the end without intrusive expressions. That's non-periodic. That's a non-periodic sentence. So you have a lot of things to talk about when you're discussing the style of a novel. The sentence structures, the demotic style, the hieratic style, so periodic sentence creates formality. Periodic sentence creates formality and suspense in the mind of the reader, because style is not usually done for its own sake. Style is usually done for effect. So you need to also state the effect of a particular style, a particular stylistic feature deployed in the novel. So for instance, if an author uses hyperbole, the effect could be for emphasis. The effect could also be for humor. Emphasis, hyperbole, over exaggeration or overstatement can lead to humor, can lead to emphasis. So always know the effect of a particular trope used in a work of art, deployed in a work of art. That is very important too. The author uses this linguistic feature. What is its purpose? What does it do? So, we are saying that for the periodic sentence, it creates a tone of formality. The periodic sentence creates a tone of formality in a work of art. Also creates suspense in a work of art. Creates suspense. Creates suspense in a work in the mind of the reader, because the ending of the sentence is suspended until later. Okay? The non-periodic sentence is also known as a loose sentence. The non-periodic sentence is also known as a loose sentence. Loose sentence. The non-periodic sentence usually creates a conversational tone. Conversational tone. And a sense of informality in a work of art. And a sense of informality in a work of art. And a sense of informality in a work of art. Another level of style distinction, is paratactic and hypotactic sentences. Paratactic and hypotactic sentences. Paratactic and hypotactic sentences. Let's just look at paratactic style. Paratactic style is created through the use of parataxis. Paratactic style is created through the use of paratactic sentences. Paratactic style is created. Paratactic style is created through the use of what? Paratactic sentences. Paratactic style is created through the use of paratactic sentences. It refers to expressions. It refers to expressions that's parataxis. Refers to expressions that make use of coordinating conjunctions. That make use of expressions that make use of coordinating conjunction. Paratactic style refers to expressions, that's parataxis. Expressions that make use of coordinating conjunctions. Like and, but. Okay? But you think conjunctions like and, but, yet, or. Without emphasis on cohesion of ideas and thoughts. Without emphasis on cohesion. Cohesion of ideas and thoughts. Hypotactic style is the opposite of paratactic style. Hypotactic style is the opposite of paratactic style. Hypotactic style is the opposite of paratactic style. And it is denoted by the use of subordinating conjunctions. It is denoted by the use of subordinating conjunction. Subordinating conjunction. So you need to know a lot about language in order to study the language of literature. Denoted by the use of subordinating conjunctions such as when, since, because, although, if, depending on the subordinating expression. Okay? Depending on the subordinating expression. Where and so on, so forth. So that subordinating conjunction usually introduce the subordinate clause or the better clause or the dependent clause. So hypotactic style usually contain subordinating clauses or expressions. So from there we can give example of a hypotactic style to be 1. When Ekpenyong the hunter got to the forest, when Ekpenyong the hunter got to the forest, he encountered a lion which attacked and devoured him. He encountered a lion which attacked and devoured him. When Ekpenyong the hunter got to the forest, he encountered a lion which attacked and devoured him. Which attacked and devoured him. We can give an example of a paratactic sentence to be 1. To be 1, and the men left the train station but when they got to the war front, they regretted their action. And the men left the train station, but when they got to the war front, they regretted their action. So you can see that expression is dominated by coordinating conjunction. The first one is dominated by subordinating conjunction. We will have more discussion still on the style of the novel when we meet again. So for now, we pause the class there, take 5 minutes break, and then switch to the next course.